I was told to introduce the panel, so Alexandra, take it away for the panel.
Yeah, thank you, Alexander. Yeah, that was a very visionary talk that we just heard. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here at PAKCon today. Also a bit like, for me, it's like a bit like homecoming since I've been working with PAKCon before. And yeah, we only have a few minutes, like 25 minutes for this very important topic, AI. And that's why I would like to maybe everyone just says hello personally. So starting with Ole.
Hello, hello. My name's Ole and I run data and analytics at Project A. And if you need a personal reference on how that is working in the team, you can ask Alex. Thanks for the 4 years. And that's it, I keep it short.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm one of the co-founders of Uni.ai. We have been built a platform for the fashion industry, analyzing data of the future, the present and the past, to create bestseller products in seconds.
Yeah, I'm Alex. You just heard from me. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, and so let's jump right in. I think it's a very important point that you brought here about, yeah, the people actually in companies then in the end working with AI. And so I read that 70% of German Mittelstand companies claim that still they are hesitant to use AI. And the reason for that is actually that they say the experience of their employees is not there yet. So the question is a bit, because you tackled this as well, is it really this thing about upskilling? Is this the main issue why AI is not adopted yet?
Should I start? From my experience, actually AI was invented 1920 already. That's actually interesting because it's not new. It seems new, but it's not new. That's why I loved your speech, because it's like real, right? We work with AI now. I work with Mittelstand companies since 2019. Upskilling the people in the companies is quite difficult. So what we did instead, we changed our product in the way that it's so easy to use that nobody has to upskill. Right, we brought out a product which was still very AI focused and so on, and we tried to upskill these people in the companies, designers, that they understand what is AI and so on. And we instead changed the product to non-technical wording, no AI wording, really like we not even saying AI anymore, and now we have more conversion through this process. So in my opinion, upskilling is we had a lot of success, but we didn't have a lot of success with that.
I like that. It's like AI in disguise. I think that can work in terms of upskilling. So what we see working on projects also with Mittelstand companies is that there is a large willingness, but then people haven't understood what, Alex, you showed with your podcast example, actually, when you can break down a job into very specific tasks that basically in the end make up a job. But then in my experience, people haven't fully understood what are the initial tasks and where on an individual task level, AI can actually be sort of an efficiency gain, and where it probably shouldn't be a role because it's more of a creative or emotional intelligence task. So while there is willingness, I don't feel like there is great understanding in what are the individual tasks and what's the individual task, like optimization potential, so to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think there's also this layer of also being a bit afraid of trying it, you know. So I think what I find so striking about this technology is that it's not a VR headset that you have to buy and then you have to wear it. It's just, instead of going to one web page, is going to another web page and just typing in the same way that you would use. I mean, just for this example, you know, just for front UI based AI tools. So I think I would say that there needs to be some kind of courage, maybe some kind of, you know, putting people on a pedestal who tried it, and maybe building a little stage for them and trying to find pockets for them to be little heroes. I think this is something that is almost like on a psychological level, something that you need to change, which is incredibly hard to do because, you know, big companies they're not startups. It's a good thing that they're not startups. Imagine if, you know, a startup would be risk averse. There would be no startups, and if big companies would be super risk tolerant, there would be no risk, there would be no big companies anymore. So I think it's natural for big companies to become more risk averse over time. But still, I mean, let me put it this way. I mean, there was a time before Microsoft Office, right? And still, Microsoft Office, there were some people in the organization when Microsoft Office came that they said, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm going to use my calculator. I'm not going to use Excel. But at some point in time, they got converted to Microsoft Excel, I guess 100% now. But that took a while. So the question is, how can you speed up that process? And I think, you know, it's about people who are champions, building them a pedestal, giving them kind of an area to say why this is working. And like Ole said, showing why it's useful.
So would you say it's actually not so much about really AI, but about like not being scared of adapting a new technology, which has happened before? And it's more like that AI is something that is more difficult to grasp, and that this is all about how you as a manager then in a company empower the people to and inform also which kind of tasks can be done.
I can start. So yes, I think so. Well, I think if you, I mean, maybe one good thing that you could do is change the front page. So when you open your browser every day, when you come to the office, sometimes the intranet opens up, sometimes it's Google, sometimes it's Bing. Why don't you make that for 30 days? You make that to Gemini or ChatGPT, and just try to use these kinds of technologies for 30 days, and you try not to use search engines, and you'll be amazed with what kind of use cases you will come up with if you force yourself to do it. Just like, you know, someone who uses PowerPoint. If you're in marketing, you're going to use PowerPoint differently than someone who works in the supply chain. So I believe that, you know, it's just about osmosis. You just have to try it, and then you will find something that you can do with it.
Yeah, trying it. I mean, that's a good question also maybe for Anna, because you are building an AI tool. So you have a lot of experience on how this was adapted, I guess, by companies that are working with you. Maybe you can share some.
Yeah, in the beginning it was a very business intelligence tool. Of course, it's based on data, and you work with data, and we came into an environment which has been only designers. So we have been growing with these designers, with these companies together to build this tool together, right? That's what we did. In the beginning, nobody could use it. It was like, I cannot use it, I don't understand that, but it was creating designs. And today, there's like a really, we say always like a Playmobil interface with a lot of feedback from the designers, and now they know they say, oh, it's really easy to use now. We have no AI there, so they're not afraid anymore. And AI will be anyhow everywhere. So we use the wording co-pilot or assistant, and yeah, we have 7,300 users since our last update. It was in March, so now it's quite adapted.
Anna, we talked about sort of gaining trust into the technology. So we all know that LLMs can hallucinate to a certain extent. They're not deterministic, they're probabilistic. So I'm wondering, especially with designers, like, are there certain trust issues because the output is not what they expected, and then it's really hard to drive adoption? Because from a bigger sense, that might also happen in sort of a workforce of a larger company, right? You try it out, the output is very strange, you never get back to it. Is that happening?
As I'm a designer myself, I was working 15 years in this industry. I have been building very close with our tech team, so we have not this issue. We had always a good quality.
Okay.
The issue was most, hey, does that take my job? I have so many designers are coming out with burnout out of this industry. Companies like Puma, they are designing 44,000 designs monthly. So it was more like, hey, does AI take my job? Do I have more work next to my work, what I have, and things like that.
I was wondering also, because when Alex, you said, I like that analogy with the brain power, that you can multiply brains. And I was wondering also about, then again, about the coordination, because I could imagine that, yeah, coordinating horsepower and muscle power is maybe a little bit easier. So do you have any ideas on that, like because of managing?
Yeah, of managing the AI. Well, I mean, there's a lot of stakeholders involved anyway. If you recall the example of the marketing manager that is sworn by just a bunch of agencies, that's a ton of allocating, of coordinating, of watching timelines and making sure people hand in the work. So I don't think that goes away, but I think what goes away is the velocity of results. So, you know, these 3 little pictures that I showed, they were nothing perfect, but they were just generated in 3 minutes with the same character. I mean, it's pretty easy to generate these kinds of images, you know, with a crew on site, but it's going to take way more time. There's going to be so much more coordination. If the velocity is much quicker, and I just can, make the prompt a bit different, or even specify the camera that it should be shot with in a prompt instead of having a hardware camera there, I would make the case that this is actually way easier to coordinate, and especially because of the velocity, you'll have just quicker results, and which will turn up to be just easier for you.
Yeah, okay, I think with that I would like to jump into another topic of, thinking about the return on invest. So like if I want to start with AI, and how can I ensure that it really creates business value? Because I think, okay, we talked now about that it's better if, you are using it every day, so it's actually not really that you need deep skills to do it, but in the end, it can also be maybe, it's just nice to use it, but do you really need it? And I think that's a question maybe for Ole, because I've experienced also a lot with him, like when you think of the return on invest, when data and
yeah, that's a familiar topic. I feel like the straightforward answer would be, if we look into operational efficiency, you could calculate time saved, which can be allocated to more value-adding tasks, and you can come up with a number. The problem I have with the question is that, I mean, with AI, it's very dangerous to just get into the trap that you use it for things that it shouldn't be used for. AI is a means to an end, but there's also very great other means out there. One is, for example, just talking and building relationships. Not everything is a tech problem that should be tackled with AI. So I think there you need to be careful. Then also when it comes to calculating business cases, before you already basically have decided to use AI for whatever you're trying to solve, when there are probably something a lot simpler that can do the job just as well, and that actually puts down the ROI and drives up the cost. So I'd be careful there to take AI as it's just a means to an end, but it's definitely not a means to every single end. But the straightforward answer is probably looking at time savings. That's what I would start with, I guess.
Can I bring in some numbers?
yes.
Everybody knows Shein, right? I guess so. They sell 99% of their products. Why? They're calculating everything. They're designing by AI. They are super efficient and creating bestsellers. What do you think our industry, the normal fashion industry, is selling? They have like 30% sales. All the rest is going to warehouses, whatever. It's like having a hotel and only 30% of rooms filled. So I think it's a good thing. Shein is taking over the whole market. They're gonna die. So for me, it's a critical number. You want to stay where you are, or you're gonna sell. So that's a big number. Other numbers are like they need 67,000 hours to do a collection. With AI, you need only 9,000 hours. They need 70 weeks until they are on the market. The trend is over. Again, they're not selling. With us or with AI in general, through the whole value chain, it's cutting down to 8 weeks. So I think it's important to, at least for our industry.
Yeah, so of course, because, sorry,
No worries.
lost my train of thoughts. I mean, so we talked also a bit about, again, the hesitancy of the German Mittelstand to really adapt these technologies. So one thing was about people, and one thing was about, of course, thinking about, is there a return on invest, but also thinking of like this uncertainty with data security. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm happy to start. I'm really interested in your thoughts here. I think you have a lot to share, Ole and Anna. Yeah, I think it's something that contributes to the hesitancy of using the tools because people are afraid of doing something wrong. And I'm not always sure if that holds, right? Because on the one end, you trust these companies, these hyperscalers with your data where you store the data in cloud, right? And you already believe that they're not going to ingest your data that you store there into their LLM models. Of course, I understand there's a difference now, but still, in essence, you still trust the Microsoft and Google to not use the stuff or to build the sandbox that they promised to build you, and they're not going to ingest it into their large language models. So, but there's a bit more skepticism on that end. So sometimes I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But to your question, yes, there's a lot of hesitancy, and some of it might be justifiable. But as I try to outline in my presentation, I think this is the best thing that could happen to German companies because we're just lacking people. I mean, we're talking about. I don't think this is going to replace people that much because we just really need people to kind of produce the welfare in this country. So I think it's really a boon for us, and we should try to embrace it and maybe also work out these concerns that you might have.
And Anna, how is it for you? So like when you are now starting a new collaboration with a company and they're asking for data secure, is my data secure? Are my designs or the data that we're feeding into your tool secure? How?
We are also working with sandboxes. So, yeah, it's very important in our industry because designs cannot be stolen by another company. We have a data security, one of my co-founders is a data security officer, I don't know, Datenschutzbeauftragte. So we have a lawyer on board and we make sure that is all secure. Also, a German company helps us also to get more trust. Yeah, of course it's very important.
And Ola, did you also experience that? I mean, like, what can one do, like, again, from the management perspective, in like a strategy of, dealing with insecurities around data? Is there anything that you can say that worked out?
So in terms of security, privacy issues?
Or like to just like relieve this, like to help the companies to understand what's going on, or what is the strategies that they're not too risk avoidant when it comes to
I think we talked about
sharing.
a couple of approaches here today, right? The AI in disguise was one, and then also leaving room for champions, as Alex described, to basically put them on stage and elaborate a bit more on their use case, so give people a bit of freedom. I think and you just touched about privacy and security. I think it is about sort of building trust, taking care of certain trust issues, as you would in Tinder speak sometimes, I guess mention it. And the security is one part, so I mean that requires a bit of education so people don't put in sort of confidential documents into just a general ChatGPT interface, because that can mess things up quite a bit. So there's some education required, because otherwise that could backfire. But yeah, execs need to get involved and give the companies or employees some breathing space to explore and figure things out, I guess.
Yeah, so I think we're almost at the end, and so just for the last round, I mean, we have a lot of topics that we touched upon. It was more like the hesitancy of people thinking of AI, a technology they don't fully understand yet. So that's a lot about, really getting in touch with it and lowering this hurdle to use it, empowering. And maybe just because, I mean, the motto of the PAKCon is activate, maybe your one last thought on what is the first thing to do for a German Mittelstand company that wants to start using AI? What would be the first thing to start with from your point of view?
I mean, it's not starting from the data that you have, nor it is starting from like the AI tooling that is available, I guess. And I'm curious if you would challenge me on this, Alex, or also you, Anna. I feel like it still needs to start from company strategy. What are the things that we need to figure out long term? What are the OKRs, objectives, and then what kind of initiatives can move these things forward? Some of them happen to be AI. There will be others that won't be anything to do with AI. That's important to highlight. And then sort of take things from there, but probably not starting from tech or tooling, because it gets into the tinkering that is not super value adding. And that's why I guess executives need to be involved to get some transparency on strategy.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't make any sense to just use AI wherever, really making clear what are the goals, what are the KPIs, what you said, where we want to go, and then using specific AI for specific occasions.
Yeah, I might add that I would try to get the CEO to use whatever chat tool you want to use on a daily basis. I think that really helps to find some creativity, because for me, AI is not some kind of project that where BCG comes in and then you're now an AI first company. I think it's something like, if you want to implement, just like my example from before, if you want to implement Microsoft Office, you just have to show the people what they can do with it, and over time they're going to use it. But for now, I think we're not showing people enough what you can do with it. So I would start at the top and try to give him or her as much exposure as possible to the tool.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, thanks a lot for everyone here participating. Thank you, Ole. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Alex. I hope you got some inspiration. Of course, that's only like a brief set of ideas, and I think we still have the convention today here at PAKCon, and I guess most of the panelists will be there, so you can talk to them. And yeah, thank you for all. And I hope you have a great PAKCon.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.